Super Smash Bros. Is trending online right now, but not for the reason that you might be thinking. As we are approaching 7 years this December since Smash Ultimate, I'm sure another game is coming relatively soon. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're going back in time to Super Smash Bros. Brawl of all games, because right now, all over the internet, everyone's sharing their favorite moments from. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this mode, this was Brawl's main mode. This was the adventure mode. This is the one that a lot of fans have been asking to return, and this mode is loved by a lot of fans, but why is it so loved? Why is this something that fans have been asking for time and time again? Now, there's lots of reasons why people love this mode, and I think it needs to be a necessity in the next Smash Bros. Game, and let me tell you why and break it down between categories. And the first one I want to talk about is the relationship. If there's one thing Smash fans really love about the entire series as a whole, it's the awesome cutscenes we get for either character reveals or, of course, the Subspace story mode itself. These cutscenes are great and offer some really fun food for the eyes, but it's more than just the cutscenes that really sell this mode for people. It's the relationships of the characters. There's truly something so special about seeing all these different characters from across Nintendo's multiple IPs working together, and seeing their personalities clash with each other is just so awesome. Seeing villains team up with villains and heroes teaming up with other heroes is something that's really satisfying to see, and almost giving it like a movie on the big screen type of effect. Like, in what other game are you going to see Samus saving Pikachu from being a laboratory experiment, and then Pikachu also saving Samus from Ridley? Or a scene where a bunch of Pikmin are attacking Rob and Captain Falcon just punches it in the face? Or a scene where Lucario finds Snake underneath a cardboard box on the battleship Halberd? Like, you can't make this stuff up. Some of these scenes are just genuinely etched into my mind and into fans' minds across the globe, and these were some of the coolest moments growing up as a kid. I mean, these were things that you dreamt about. You would buy toys of all these characters and make them fight each other, and in your mind, this is what it would look like. So seeing this actually happen in a video game, and it was actually real, like this was a real Nintendo-made video game, was so cool, man, and it's something that you just don't experience every day. Did any of it really make sense? No, but was it fun, wacky, and an interesting story to follow? For sure. It just felt like a fan animation if anything came true, and with the budget of Nintendo backing it up. I just can't believe this ever happened, and unfortunately, it would never happen again. Personally, I don't think it's just the cutscenes or the relations of the characters interacting with each other that really sells this as much as it did for me, because it's also the gameplay. Subspace wasn't only just a spectacle to watch, but for me it was also a spectacle to play. Now, some people might be divided on this part and may not like what they did with the story mode of Subspace, but I absolutely loved it, and it was so different than just fighting computer players over and over again. It actually turns the game into a 2D action-adventure game, which is something that works surprisingly well for something like Smash Bros. I mean, it's a 2D platform fighter, so why not have an adventure mode where you're fighting off enemies, old and new, in this giant world that's brand new for the series. So yeah, you have all these wacky enemies and new boss battles that you get to take on, and also you get to find hidden collectibles and secrets like trophies and stuff to add to your collection. So it's not like you're just doing this for no reason. There's reasons to do this. You unlock new characters, new collectibles, and your extras. There's just a lot of things to do here. And none of the platforming was really difficult or anything like that. It was mostly just a 2D beat-em-up game. But beating up members of the Mushroom Kingdom, or even new and wacky creatures made specifically for this game, it was something that definitely would stick in my head for a very long time. Yeah, those are eyeball fish, don't ask me. And this wasn't even something that was brand new at the time. We had bits of this in Super Smash Bros. Melee, where you would run through parts of the Mushroom Kingdom and parts of Hyrule, and go through little platforming sections while also taking out enemies from those respective games. So seeing something like this now on a larger scale with a full-blown story, tying all these characters together as well with cool cutscenes, was more than we ever could have asked for. Sakurai truly cooked with his team here, and this is one of the greatest creations I think they truly have ever made. Now, since then, Sakurai has decided to move away from Subspace Emissary, and instead started moving towards some other side modes that never really competed with Subspace. Now, his reasoning was because the cutscenes for the game would leak online, and that's what they did for Brawl apparently, but let's face it, how many of us were actually watching Brawl's cutscenes online before it released? I didn't even know about online back then. But for Smash 4 on the Wii U and 3DS, since there were two versions of this game, he had two different modes, and unfortunately, the one on the Wii U was the worst one to date, being Smash Tour, which was this big party game where you all simultaneously ran across this big game board and random things would happen and you'd play these random matches with each other. Yeah, I don't know how this made it as a main game. Now, it probably wouldn't have been terrible as a side game, as some type of extra option that you can choose, but the fact that this was no type of adventure or story mode whatsoever was a pretty big downer for a lot of people. I mean, I probably played this twice ever. Now, Smash Run felt like it tried to get really close to that Subspace vibes. In fact, it felt a lot like it. If you take this different segments of this giant map and section them off on their own individual levels, it would feel like a Subspace 2. I mean, just look at some of the locations and the enemies and stuff. And I think that's why I even love this more than World of Light, simply due to the fact that there were so many different enemies, new ones, returning ones. You had enemies from all types of franchises that would spawn, and I felt like this was such a fun little mode. Now, this is where Sakurai shows his obsession with having some type of post-game like he does in Kirby Air Rider, and even coming out in the future Kirby Air Riders game, where you go through this fun mode just to do some type of boring mode afterwards, like a race or a free-for-all or something that you're collecting items for the entire time. I wish I could just go around, fight enemies, fight bosses, and this just be an adventure mode, honestly. I didn't need all the collectible items and badges and gear in order to prepare for some final battle. And it's actually a shame that this mode at the very least didn't return as a side mode in Smash Ultimate or something. I mean, it would have been really cool with the massive roster to see tons of more characters from all these different franchises here, like Castlevania, Minecraft, or even some enemies from Xenoblade, since there has never been any. And then for Smash Ultimate, we had World of Light, and I'm sorry, I still think I had more fun with Smash Run in my opinion. At least there were some unique enemies and characters to fight and stuff. This game just had nothing like that. This whole mode just had you going around multiple maps just fighting CPU characters from the already in-game roster. So you're not fighting any unique enemies or characters through different franchises or anything like that. No, you're just fighting Mario, but this time he's covered in metal. Or Luigi, but this time he's gigantic. Or Rob, but this time he's small. You know what I mean? It's just like that's how every battle worked. And their way of doing this was pretty much having these things called spirits, which was just a lazy way to slap PNGs of all these characters throughout these multiple franchises, and then I guess the spirit of that character was within one of the characters from the main roster. So yeah, it's like you're fighting that character, but you're not fighting that actual character. They had like a couple of cutscenes, one at the very beginning that was absolutely peak and had the entire world talking, and then a couple at the end, and that was really about it. Those cutscenes looked so good, and in fact, all the character cutscenes that Nintendo has been releasing have looked this good. It's just a shame that we can't see this level of quality in an actual story mode. There were boss battles, there were definitely some new ones, but there was also a lot of returning ones as well. So I don't know, it just felt like, oh, here's this really bland mode with these cool boss battles slapped into it, which felt like the bosses should have just been a part of a bigger adventure mode again. But I guess now the question is, what does Nintendo do for the next Smash Brothers? Well, I don't think there's much doubt in many people's mind that Smash Brothers is not a dead franchise, that it will continue to grow even if Sakurai is not at the helm, but the question is, what's next? Are they actually going to bring back something like Subspace for the next Smash Brothers? Well, I think our best bet right now is to keep our eyes on Kirby Air Riders. Now, Kirby Air Riders is a spin-off racing game for Kirby, and the first game came out on the GameCube, and it had some very basic, safe modes. Nothing in any way, shape, or form like a story mode, but that came out on the GameCube. We are now in the Switch 2 era. So personally, I feel like Sakurai and their team are going to have more than what they've shown off already. Just having City Trial return and also races, but there has to be something else. And I do wonder if Sakurai is hiding inevitably a new story mode type of thing added to this game. What would it look like for a racing game? I have absolutely no clue. But we know the game launches next month and that Sakurai is going to have yet again another Sakurai Presents for this game, meaning that there has to be something else big that Sakurai wants to show off if he wants to have another whole presentation showing this game off, right? It can't just be more Kirby Air Riders because, I mean, we've been getting a lot of information already about this game, the tracks, the characters and stuff, literally just from Twitter and its official Twitter account. But the thing that has my attention is that at the very end of the Direct, we saw some strange new character appear in a really cool cutscene of it riding a wheelie bike, and it seemed to be some type of corrupted version of King Dedede, like a hybrid of King Dedede, Nightmare, and maybe even Dark Matter all combined into one. So I'm wondering if this is just a playable character, but it seems like there needs to be some type of story to explain who this character is and why is is he in this game. So I'm wondering if there is going to be some type of cutscene type thing going on here. Because if Sakurai comes up with a cool adventure mode and cutscenes for something like Kirby Air Riders, he kind of has no excuse now not to have something like this in the next Smash Brothers game. And the reason why it hurts so bad now is because since Smash Brawl, we have gotten some massive character rosters. I mean, dude, look at the roster for Smash Ultimate. Smash Ultimate had 89 playable characters. Could you imagine all of those characters from the first party and third party pools that Sakurai was able to get and have them all interact with each other in a giant new subspace with cutscenes and adventure mode and stuff? Oh my gosh, it would have been so cool. But I will admit, trying to have a cohesive story at all with 89 characters and having to make renders and story cutscenes with all of them is a lot to ask, I can't lie. So maybe Sakurai was waiting for them to chop down the roster more, which I'm actually hoping they do with the next Smash Brothers game. Going towards the direction of a reboot, break down the roster, and rework some of those, you know, series staples, and then maybe with a smaller roster, we could once again see something like cutscenes in a story mode like Subspace. I mean, do you see these cutscenes for these character reveals for Smash Ultimate? They were top notch. I mean, some of the best video game animation I've seen in a long time. I know, maybe I need to get out more, but I mean, dude, this stuff was just like straight adrenaline, something that you're not going to see with any other Nintendo game. Seeing characters like Banjo and Kazooie, Sephiroth, Minecraft Steve, Kazuya, all interacting and having their own story cutscenes, having funny moments and just serious moments, and seeing all these character interactions would have just been one of the greatest things ever. And Sakurai's statement still really didn't make a whole lot of sense when you think about it, because, I mean, there were also cutscenes in Smash Ultimate. Not many, but there were some really big ones that actually were pretty insane to watch. So I was kind of confused there, and none of them really leaked outside of like a day or two before the game came out when people started getting early copies, and that's not really anything leaking. I mean, that happens with any game. You can't really prevent that. So I'm wondering what the heck Sakurai's talking about with that. So are we ever going to see the return of something like Subspace Emissary ever again? I really hope so, but I do fear that if it's not within the next Smash Brothers game, it might be time to say goodbye to a mode like this. And I feel like doing something like this also is just great marketing, because for people that don't care about things like Fire Emblem or Xenoblade, seeing these characters from those respected games actually, you know, interact with characters that they do know and recognize, like Mario, Link, and Yoshi, Luigi, Kirby, it starts to get people interested in those franchises. I mean, I didn't know who the heck a Marth was, or Roy, or an Ike, but I feel like I'd be a lot more interested nowadays if they had them in these cutscenes and make me say, those characters are pretty cool. I used to think Marth was the bomb when I was seeing those cutscenes. So yeah, seeing these characters come to a new light was pretty interesting to me. But who knows? Did you like Subspace Emissary? Do you care about it enough to want it again? Or maybe you're somebody that just really didn't like it and loved World of Light for some reason. Maybe you love Smash Run and Smash Tour even. Let me know in the comments down below where you fall on this, and if you even want to see something like Subspace make a return. And have a blessed day, guys. See ya.